Hi everyone, welcome back. It has been ages since I last filmed a video, but I decided to think a little bit more about my content and ask you guys what you want to see. And a ton of you were asking for more book recommendation and book reviews and stuff like that. So I thought this would be the perfect video to come back on YouTube. So for next week, which is actually today because you're gonna watch that hopefully on Monday, I'm starting a new challenge. It is something that I've never done. It is really challenging, but I am so excited for it. So I'm gonna do my first readathon. So if you don't watch a lot of booktube videos and if you're not really into that kind of community, basically a readathon is an event generally it's across multiple days, where people read as many books as they can. And this week I'm doing the Reading Rush readathon, which is basically the old booktubeathon, I think. It is the first one that I'm going to do, and the founders of this readathon, they have created a website with all the challenges, because that's the thing, you have multiple challenges and you have to find books that fit within those challenges, and you can have like one book that fits 2 or 3 or more challenges. But I decided to try and read 7 books in 7 days. So this is challenging, we'll see how I do. But today I have my iced coffee behind me. I'm sure you can tell I'm not home right now. I'm actually staying in our family home, which is about 60 kilometers away from Brussels, which explains why the sound is a little bit echoey and the background isn't really interesting, but it's a very old farmhouse, so it's pretty difficult to find a decent place to film with enough light, because the house in itself is beautiful, but it doesn't get a lot of light. So today I'm going to share everything that I want to read this week and tell you about the challenges and the books that I have found that meet those challenges. So the first challenge is to read a book with purple on the cover. And I have the perfect book for that. This was a Christmas present from my husband last year. It's The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes in the illustrated version. I got 3 books from this collection. I got Pride and Prejudice, I got Alice in Wonderland, and I got this one. I've never read Sherlock Holmes before, so I'm very excited, and it's so beautiful inside. It is a little bit of a big book, but I feel like because it is illustrated, it's gonna be really easy to read. I'm so excited to read it because, as I said, I've never read it, and this is such a classic. I'm sure I will really enjoy reading it, but I just love these books. The next challenge, again, if you want to participate, you can have one book that fits multiple challenges, but I chose to challenge myself to read 7 books in 7 days. I believe that was a challenge in the years before, but they've changed it. Nowadays, like an extra challenge, but I decided to do it nonetheless. This is why you'll see I have some smaller books, and I've tried not to have like 400 pages book for each challenge. So the next one is to read a book in the same spot the entire time. And I believe my spot here will be my bed, just because I love reading in bed. When I wake up in the morning on weekends, I love spending an hour or so just reading in my bed. I love to read before I go to sleep. So I've chosen this book, which I bought in Brighton last year. This is Daryl Cunningham, Science Tale. So this is basically a comic all about science. It looks very, very fun. I just finished another book about science that I didn't understand half of it. It was supposed to be really approachable, but it wasn't. So I'm excited to read this one because hopefully it's gonna be a little bit more easy to understand if you don't have a PhD in science, which is far from being the case with me. But I decided to get this comic style book because I don't want to spend like 7 hours reading in the same spot. So I thought this would be a great pick for that. The next challenge is to read a book you meant to read last year. And trust me, there's a lot of books that I didn't get to last year, but this one was high on the list. I remember going to London and going to Brighton and looking for it. I never found it until this January when I finally found it. It is Alice by Christina Henry, and it's supposed to be a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, which is one of my favorite books and favorite story. So I've heard that this is creepy, it's a little bit disturbing. I believe it happens in a mental hospital, so I'm very, very excited to read it. I think it is about 300 pages, so easily doable within a day. So I'm really curious to read this one because I've heard so many people on BookTube and on Goodreads talk about it. Now for the next challenge, I don't have my book yet because it is coming with Amazon, because in Brussels I can sometimes manage to find a book in English, but here there's not a lot of bookshops and they only sell books in French, so I had to order it on Amazon. This is the challenge to read an author's first book, and I chose to read In a Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I just finished The Woman in Cabin 10, which I really liked, and I decided to read her first book, which is this one. I believe she used to publish books for, was it YA or kids, under another name, but I decided to count this book as her first book since it is the first one that she published with her real name. I don't know a lot about it. I believe it is some girls going away for the weekend for a bachelorette party and then something goes horribly wrong. It is a mystery thriller, so I'm excited about that, but I don't have it yet. I think it's coming tomorrow, hopefully. The next challenge, I do have the book. It is to read a book with a non-human main character. Now this is so interesting because I read, I think a month ago, I read The Humans, which was so funny. It was a really fun book. I read it when we were in Tenerife and I really enjoyed it, and it is from the point of view of a human that is stuck in a human body, basically. So that would be a great pick, but obviously I've already read it. So I decided to read a classic that I cannot believe I haven't read. This is in French. This is by Kafka and it's called La Métamorphose in French, which is, I believe, Metamorphosis in English. This is such a quick read. I think it is 120 pages. This was only €2, which is great. So I'm excited to read it because this is such a classic and it's from the point of view of a human that wakes up as a bug. So quite interesting. The next challenge is to read a book that has 5 or more words in the title. And I'm going to butcher that name. I don't have the book yet, it's coming tomorrow as well. This is Dear Ijeawele, a feminist manifesto in 15 suggestions. It's a book that I've wanted to read for the longest time and I never picked it up. So I decided, you know what, this is my chance. It is a quick read. I think it is about 100 pages or so. So it's gonna help me to achieve the goal of reading 7 books in 7 days, which the more I think about it, the less I feel confident about, but we'll see. I'll try and manage. And the last challenge is to read and watch a book to movie adaptation. And I had no idea which book I wanted to pick for that, but I finally realized that I have a ton of books with me this holiday and I have this one that I am very curious about. This is by Herman Koch? I have no idea how you pronounce that name. It's The Dinner and it sounds creepy, it sounds a little bit funny at the same time, and I've checked and they have a movie, so hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on the movie. Hopefully it is available on Netflix or iTunes or something, but I'm very curious. Again, this is a pretty quick read. I think, yeah, it is 300 pages, so it should be easy to do, but I'm so curious about it because I remember one of my friends telling me about the movie, which sounded really fun, and then I realized that it was a book, and I actually found it at a thrift shop for €2. So there you go. So that's it for today. If you are participating in the readathon or if you're just reading something that you really like at the moment, let me know in the comments down below because I'm always on the hunt for new good books to read and to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Take care everyone. Bye.